This is a Sony Alpha 7 full-frame mirrorless camera announced in 2013. On it is a kit lens, the 28-70mm, which is fully autofocus and also auto aperture. This is a 1975 Russian-made 58mm lens, the Helios 44-2. Now the question is, can you take this lens and put it on this camera? Can something from 1975 work with something from 2013? In fact, I bought it in 2018. How do we get these two to work together? Hello there, my name's Gary Sims and this is Gary Explains. And if you want to find out more about putting vintage lenses on modern mirrorless cameras, please let me explain. Okay, so just a couple of things before we get started. The first is, if you like the t-shirt, let me explain, then you can buy them online and you'll find the link below in the description. Also, I know this is a camera and lens video, but if you are at all interested in Android app development, then I have an introduction to Android development course over at digitacademy.com. Again, you'll find the links in the description below. Now, I showed you the Helios 44-2. This here is also a Canon FD 50mm and it's an f1.8. So why would you want to use lenses? This one, for example, was made in 1981. Why would you want to use these old lenses on modern day cameras? Well, the answer is quite simple. First of all, these are actually prime lenses. They're good lenses and it's a fast lens, really from the heyday of film cameras. And secondly, they are cheap. I picked all these lenses up for under $20 each one, and so you can get yourself a prime lens, a fast prime lens, 50mm f1.8 for really cheap compared to, of course, what you'd be paying for modern lenses of the equivalent. Now, of course, Canon have got the nifty 50, which is $100, but after that you start getting up into $200, $300, $400, $500, even into the $1,000 ranges when you want to buy these prime lenses. This one only costs $20. Now the downside, of course, is that this is not automatic. The kit lenses that you get nowadays are fully autofocus. They are also fully automatic aperture. But this is manual focus and you have manual control over the aperture. Now that means this isn't for your just kind of your point and shoot kind of photographer who just quickly wants to go focus, take it, go focus. This is for somebody who wants to develop the art form of taking photos. Now, each of these vintage lenses has their own kind of mounting system, depending on what type of camera it was meant to be connected to. Of course, this is a Canon, so it was using the Canon FD mount, which was popular back then when these were manufactured. Now, the Helios is using the M42 mount. Now, of course, the Sony is using a modern day Sony mount that has all the right electronics and all the right connections for talking to the lens. So how do you get them to work? Well, there are two ways of doing it. One, you can buy an active adapter, which works with more modern lenses and allows them to still talk to each other electronically. And these can cost maybe $100 or $200, depending on the make and the model and so on. But if you're using a just fully manual lens, you can use a manual adapter. And this is basically a chunk of metal that is the right width on it so that all the focal planes are still correct, and it has the right mounts on it. So at one end it's got the mount for the Sony with the right connector, and on the other end it's got the mount for the lens that you want to use, in this case the Canon, and I have another one here for the Helios. And these cost about $20, $25 as well. So all you have to do is put the lens onto the mount, connect it up, and now that is a Sony compatible lens which I can connect straight to the Sony. And the same here with the Helios, it's a screw mount, so I just screw that in there like that, and now I have a Sony compatible lens. And then of course mounting it on the Sony, here it is without the lens on it, is the same as mounting any other lens. You just line up the right dots on there that Sony have put, click it in, and that's it. I have now this lens connected to my Sony. But of course the Sony is expecting a fully automatic lens on there, and it's not going to be able to talk to the lens and know what's going on. So the way you can take pictures with this is you have to use it either in full manual mode, where you control the ISO, the shutter speed, the aperture, and of course the focusing, or you can use it in aperture priority mode. Now, aperture priority mode is the easiest. If you set your ISO to automatic, the shutter speed will also be in automatic, and that means you're just left with controlling the manual focus and the aperture. And the way it works is this: when you turn the aperture on the lens, it doesn't have to talk back to the camera just sees the amount of light that's coming in, its metering will kick in, and it will reduce the shutter speed, and it will reduce or increase the ISO accordingly. So basically you just need to control the aperture manually on the lens, manually focus it, and then take a picture, and that's it. So what we do now is we go outside and we're going to take a picture with the Helios 44-2 in aperture priority mode, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so here I am with the Sony, and I've got the Helios 44-2 on it, and that of course is a 58mm f2.0 lens. And what I've done is I've set the camera into aperture priority mode, and when you change the aperture on the camera, you can see that it suddenly goes dark, and then the metering kicks in, and it kind of compensates. And if I go the other way, it'll get brighter, and then the metering kicks in and it sorts it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this to the widest aperture, and now here I can change the focus. Okay, and I'm using focus peaking here, and you can just start to see around here as it gets into focus, and you can notice the background is completely blurred. That's the shallow depth of field effect. And of course I could focus completely the other way, and now the background is in focus and the apple is completely out of focus. But if we go back the other way, let's go and get the focus on the apple about right. There it is, about there. And I'd prefer using focus peaking. I just think it gives more accurate results. Of course you could do it by eye, and then now we just need to take the picture. And there we have it. So what I've done is I've taken a picture, and look at that. Look at all that lovely out of focus, shallow depth of field, and the apple there clearly in focus. So that's using the aperture priority mode. It's as simple as that. So I'm actually turning into a bit of a vintage lens fan. I think this is really a bit of a black hole that I could disappear down, kind of picking up these older lenses, trying them out, seeing what kind of photos you get from them. Here are a few shots that I've taken with some lenses, and I've written down at the bottom what lens I've been using so you can follow along too. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. A quick look at how you use vintage lenses on a modern mirrorless camera. My name's Gary Sims, and this is Gary Explains. Do stick around, do subscribe to the channel, and well, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.